Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Recently, Raven went through and responded to some of the biggest controversies with Warzone as it stands. Obviously, the Black Ops 7 Warzone update was a pretty big shift for Warzone gameplay in general. They adjusted things obviously with the movement in some pretty substantial ways, getting rid of tac sprints, obviously in LTMs. We've got things like the wall jumps, the grapple hooks in there as well. And this has all been pretty divisive stuff so far. The community definitely split on some of it working really well, some of it not working really well. And so Call of Duty and Raven have gone through and detailed what they're seeing and how they're going to approach these specific elements of gameplay moving forward. They posted the season 1 in focus blog, so it seems like this is going to be something we see a few of throughout the season and throughout the future here in upcoming seasons as well, kind of detailing some of the core topics going on around the game. But they say, first and foremost, thanks to everyone for the positive response to the season 1 launch. The passion and feedback we've seen across the community has been incredibly motivating for our teams, and we're excited to continue building on this momentum with you. With all the conversation around season 1 changes, we want to take a moment to share thoughts on one primary gameplay pillar in the form of movement. Movement has been one of the most discussed items since launch, and seeing how many players have embraced this newer pace, we think it's worth diving into a bit more detail on it. First of all, we recognize that movement this year is different as a part of our broader alignment with the gameplay philosophy of Black Ops 7, and our team has worked carefully to find a middle ground that incorporates new elements without destabilizing the core Warzone experience. There are, of course, some distinct differences, with wall jump only being an LTM, not being the default movement or anything like that. There is some separation still between Black Ops 7 and Warzone, but there is also a lot of similarities as well. Diving into specifics, we've seen a lot of questions around general movement speed and the sprinter perk in particular, and we want to clearly reaffirm our current stance. At this time, we are not planning to change baseline movement speed or nerf the adaptive or sprinter perks in the immediate future. Keyword here being immediate future. It's possible that they could adjust this at some point in the future further on down the road, you know, season 3, 4, 5, as we get into other stages of Warzone, just to test and see what the response is like. But no changes coming to the adaptive bonuses, which are pretty crazy. You can get some awesome movement benefits by using that. Then sprinter, obviously, with tac sprints enabled, and offer some other unique movement benefits too. It's a combination that I've been using a ton of since launch, and it's definitely my go-to for the max movements here. The way we intentionally tuned movement was designed to support smoother rotations and engagements, basically getting rid of the tac sprint animation, not having to always worry about that in gunfights with your tac sprint ADS speed, your tac sprint sprint to fire, so on and so forth. We wanted to enable more expressive play while still preserving the readability that Warzone relies on. As of right now, our community sentiment data shows that these goals are being met, basically saying what they're seeing in the back end says that players are enjoying the current changes in the current play and pacing of Warzone with these movement updates. We also want to clarify how movement speed bonuses stack across Warzone. Regardless of how players combine perks and equipment such as the stim shot, there is a maximum cap of a 20% bonus movement speed from these combined sources. So that could be tac sprinter and popping a stim shot, tac sprinter and getting the adaptive bonuses because you don't have full plates. It could be adaptive and not full plates and popping a stim shot. You can only achieve a 20% boost to your movement speed overall. A bonus movement cap has existed since before BO7, but we want to surface it to ensure that expectations are clear and to reassure the players that even the most optimized high mobility playstyles cannot exceed this limit, preserving fair play across all modes. So basically saying that yes, there's a cap to movement. While it does seem pretty crazy in certain situations, no one's ever going to be able to exceed that, sort of as a balance in place, so you're not just on ice skates at any given point in time. But interesting that even though the changes are so drastic and the general sentiment around COD is definitely a little bit lower and less hyped than in years past, these pretty big changes have actually played out well so far, it seems like. I think the ability to have these options, if you want the tac sprint, you want the faster movement, you can go for that because some people do enjoy that. Other players like the more calm, more standard movement that we maybe had in CODs before MW 2019 without that tac sprint element in there. Keep in mind, as we're going through their entire response to some of these controversial changes, though, if you guys enjoy the video, you find the information helpful, a like rating is always seriously appreciated. It really does help grow the channel. And of course, if you're new to the channel, you want to ensure you're always in the know for everything going on in COD, no better place than right here. So feel free to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. Now they go into detail another controversial area, Another exciting area of feedback that we've been closely watching is the reaction to both wall jump and grapple hook in our first weekend only buyback BR LTM that took place this past weekend. Obviously, right now we have amped, I think it's called, which is increased health. This also has wall jump and grapple hooks enabled. Every LTM will have wall jumps and grapples. Overall, the response to wall jump has been relatively positive so far. It does play surprisingly good from my experience so far. I wasn't expecting it to, but it's actually very beneficial in some cases. We've seen the grapple hook, while slightly more controversial, be praised for its outplay potential that it brings to intense engagements and rotations. We love seeing players experiment with the movements in new ways that push the boundaries of what they've known prior. As we move forward through the remaining weekend only LTMs, we'll continue to track player feedback and engagement data very closely as it relates to some of these advanced movement mechanics like the wall jump and like the grapple hook. These systems should have a significant impact and would have a significant impact on the core experience, so any future decisions about bringing them into the core modes will be made deliberately and with the long-term health of Warzone in mind. In the meantime, we highly encourage everyone to take a moment to experiment with them first in the upcoming weekend only LTMs and share feedback via social channels by tagging Raven Software. On that note, thanks so much for reading. So basically saying grapples and wall jumps, they know that these are very controversial changes, that it is very different from that core Warzone experience, and that if they were to introduce it into general Warzone gameplay so that this was live in normal like Resurgence quads, normal Verdansk quads and Battle Royale, it would be game altering in some pretty substantial ways, and there would be a lot of feedback around it. Now, that's why they're sort of testing out in these LTMs. Is this something that players are engaging with and enjoying? Is this something they're actually using? You know, does this account often even wall jump to begin with? How many players in this match were actually utilizing this feature? This is all data that they can track. And then also, how many people with grapple hooks were able to win fights because of them? Are they too strong? Are they too dominant? Or did players not even use them in the end game? They only use them early game. And then it's like, after you rotate out of downtown, are people really using those that much anymore? It's also going to be interesting to see how these play into the Blackout experience in Avalon coming up as well, because we did have grapple hooks back in Blackout as an upgrade there. Wall jumps we didn't have during Black Ops 4, but it could again be very interesting since Avalon was sort of built with this in mind. So I'd be curious to see if maybe it's something they bring to the Blackout experience first, see how the community reacts to it then, and then they go forward, and then maybe in the later seasons, you know, this is the end of this era of Warzone anyways, they throw it in and say, hey, we'll just test it out, we'll see how it goes. And then of course that way they can mark it back in you know, MW4, when that Warzone integration comes out, they can say, hey, no more advanced movement, we're back to boots on the ground, and make it this whole deal, right? So wouldn't be surprised if that's sort of how it plays out in the future. But cool to see that they actually are already going through and detailing some of these more divisive and controversial updates that they did make with BO7 Warzone, and sort of give us some insight into their plans going forward. That said, that is going to wrap things up for this one. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like on it. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button on your way out so you can always stay in the know for everything going on in COD. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.